channel Tell IJ, and I do apologize if you've been waiting here. And just to let you know, I'm actually in the middle of cooking dinner, and I just thought because I picked up a few topics on the YouTube streets, and I thought perhaps what should I talk about today? As you all know, this is still a new channel. I'm still finding to see what my audience would like. So I thought I'll talk about the topic as you'll see, what to consider when you're coming to the UK. I do understand there are several videos on YouTube that has been put out there. Mostly the ones I seem to have noticed, I'm sure they're not the only ones, are often people usually from Africa or Nigeria talking about people leaving Nigeria to go to UK. But what I'm going to talk about applies to everyone and anyone out there who wants to come to the UK. I myself am a naturalized British citizen, if you like, or national, correctly. And I've been I've been in the UK. I've been married for nearly 30 years. Um, and whilst I respect some of the things I've heard online, I thought I'd come up here and just give anyone watching this, whether you're in Nigeria, Ghana, South Africa, Yugoslavia, wherever you are really, it's just for you to have a clear understanding. By the way, I do not work for the immigration. I am not talking on behalf of the immigration. I am only talking from my own point of view of experience and what I know, because apparently, especially people from Africa, sometimes people seem to end up spending money where they shouldn't really, all because of lack of knowledge. And I always say this to anyone, if you are going to, first of all, travel, whether you're going to UK or anywhere, of course, you cannot always depend on Google or word of mouth, is to do your own deeper research. But let me keep it simple. Assuming you're living in Nigeria or Ghana or where have you, and you are intending to go to the United Kingdom, perhaps to live and work there, the first thing you should do is make sure that whatever your status is will give you a fair advantage in the competitive market in the UK. What do I mean by that? Ideally, if you have a degree, say in Nigeria, for example, and of course, initially it may not seem like it matters, but eventually it does. Because most times, if you want to be in the professional field, often I had to do the same myself many years ago. I'm actually a qualified agronomist, but of course, I'm in the business side of things. But initially, should you want to work for anyone in the UK, you mostly have to find a way to, if you like, update or do a check and test that would kind of bring your African degree, or maybe you're from Asia, I don't know, India, I don't know. But first of all, if you have a degree, it would help. I'm not saying if you don't have a degree, you cannot come to United Kingdom. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is this. First of all, make sure you've researched and made up your mind as to the kind of jobs that you're looking for. In an ideal world, I would say try and look for jobs that apply. If you're lucky to be one of those, maybe in health, IT, similar fields, engineering, where the country are actually lacking people in that field, then good for you. Then I would say try and find companies that are offering jobs and apply whilst you're outside, because what can happen is that those companies, should they give you the job, will actually help a lot to facilitate your process into getting into United Kingdom. Assuming you don't have a degree or you don't have those kind of skills that are really, really wanted in the market, make sure you research to understand and equip yourself to be ready to do whatever sort of jobs that may be available for you when you're there. I was lucky. I didn't have to go through all those processes, but I'm listening to a lot of, brothers and sisters, immigrants or diasporans, and some people have really gone through a heck of a lot just to get a foothold into United Kingdom. So make sure you are well equipped, because you need to mentally get yourself ready, because often the country you're coming from, probably you have a good position, from what I've learned, and you may not necessarily get the same kind of position that you think you should have had from your country. Does that make sense? So I'm not saying you have to, that everyone that comes to the United Kingdom has to do a menial job. I never did. So I'm hoping, if you're blessed enough, you have some qualifications that could help you. You could be smart enough to find something outside, hence the company will help you to facilitate your entry to the United Kingdom. And if you don't, make sure the first thing or second thing after doing your research is to make sure that you are applying for the correct visa. Do you hear me? You are applying for the correct visa, because I've come across so many YouTube channels where people are giving valuable information, and it will appear that a lot of people, well, and like I said, I tend to watch a lot of American or sometimes Nigerian or Ghanaian YouTubers, so I'm only speaking from what I've seen, and it would appear that some people in their own little minds think they can just come into the UK for the sake of, I must make it there when I get there. And I want you to know, if you're watching this, do not make that mistake. It is foolhardy. It is silly. Now, UK is not Nigeria. It's not Ghana. It's not South Africa. It's not, the way things are governed and ruled here means that everything we do in the system is recorded, is followed up, and is monitored and well organized, all in good way of protecting the citizens and residents of United Kingdom. So what I will advise you, if your intention is to come to the UK, perhaps to visit a relative or a friend, of course you go for the UK visitor's visa. But if your intention, your true intention, is to come to the UK to find work, even if you're not a degree holder, you are still allowed to be able to apply. All I'm saying is make sure you choose the correct visa, which is usually I don't know what they call it, but I believe it's more like the working visa, basically. So do not go and deliberately apply for a visitor's visa and hope, oh, when I get to the UK, well, I'll find a way, I'll get into the system. Well, while some people may have seemed to have done so, if you ask those people, it mostly took them years, more than 10 years. And do you know what that means for you? Is that you will always be operating in the shadow of the system. And what do I mean by that? You can never really benefit as someone who is legally here with a permanent residence, or be it a temporary residence, or be it a British national. Because when you come with a proper working visa and you are applying because you have the right skills, therefore you don't need to lie, it helps, because the visa you're giving will be able to bring you into the UK with a guaranteed job that you are pursuing. And with those jobs and the status of your visa will come things like your social services, in terms of if you have a problem like health issues, or paying accordingly what you should pay into the system, that would also benefit you. Because I do understand, in the United Kingdom, in case you don't know, we pay very high taxes from a certain level of your salary, as much as up to 40%, which I know for those of you in Nigeria, Ghana, Africa, where there's so much corruption, people don't even pay tax. And the few people that are forced to pay tax, perhaps because they work for a governmental organization, your tax rate is never up to 40%. But then, unlike Africa, we here are able to see, appreciate, and use the things that we believe our taxes are made to do, i.e., good roads, uh, good running water, electricity, good medical, and so on and so forth. So my second advice is, please do not make that mistake. Otherwise, you will be setting yourself up for a life of torture, a life of abuse in different ways, because I've heard so many horror stories of people that are here or illegally, be it in the UK or where else you have, and because someone else is helping them, maybe for whatever it is, I don't really understand how it works, but you find your own person taking advantage. You don't want that. UK is great, but the amount of sacrifices, sometimes unsavory things I've heard through the YouTube streets. Some people, especially from our beloved African continent, are ready to do for the sake of coming to UK. I have to ask you and let you know that this should not be a matter of life or death. I do understand in most countries things are very hard, including Nigeria, Kenya, Zimbabwe, you name them. But it's not what you coming to the UK to enslave yourself. You need to make sure, whatever, if you're coming to study, apply for student visa. If you want visitors or visiting, go for visitors visa. If you're coming to work, apply accordingly, and trust me, there are benefits that surround each of those kinds of visas. They're not all the same. So do not let anyone fool you. And if you're in such countries like Nigeria or Ghana, where you have all these thugs who always come, and maybe you don't even know where to find the information, you're not sure what you're doing, please do not hand people your money. I spoke recently with someone who's already in the UK. Apparently, the first time it was their spouse's extension of their visa, I kept hearing, oh, we have to pay 6,000, we have to. I kept wondering, but then we're in the UK. I, for one, I don't like prying into people's problems or business unless someone comes to me and says, "IT, please, could you tell me what do I need to do this, to do that?" But then you don't even need to ask. Just use your brain. Go to Google, research, check. And if you're not sure, there are different links, I'm sure, if you dig deeper, where you get your first class information without depending on a third person, because the person is your community who probably do not know what they're talking about. But anyway, that aside, get the correct visa when you're coming to the UK. Third one, consider and be ready to understand that the culture in the way we work, the way we do things in the UK is so different, at least I know, so different from a place like Nigeria or Ghana or South Africa and what have you, or even Asia, some parts of Asia. Because what do I mean? There is a strong and definite discipline. I do understand there are places you still go to, certain countries where people do not seem to take their work seriously. Where people are supposed to start work at 8, they turn up at 10. But I'm telling you now, if you're not a hard worker, you cannot survive in the United Kingdom. We start work at 9 in general. I'm talking about people that usually work in offices or most places. But of course, if you're working in a hospital, you're a nurse, or you're working in some kind of warehouse somewhere, of course, it will vary. But for typical office time, you're looking at 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. Schools here start at 8:30 a.m. and primary schools finish about 3:30, just like secondary schools up to 3:45. So you would have to be ready to embrace the culture socially and economically. Do not think it's like Africa where you're going to come, because I know many people have this naive way of thinking and calculating for their relatives or friends who are abroad in their local currency, forgetting that those people are paying rent in pounds sterling. They are earning, they are paid for every single thing. Like someone said to me recently, who's been in the UK just a few years, oh my God, the person said, and I used to think that you were joking when you were always talking about bills, because I used to talk to the person about, some of the, um, should I just say in general, relatives or friends or people that, because you're in the UK, some people have made you enemies. Because I'm just speculating, because sometimes people don't even tell you why they turn on you. And maybe you have family members who feel you're not giving them enough, and they've maybe invited themselves to your place, and you know how hard you work, you know that you have to pay your tax, you have a council tax, you have a car tax, you have a TV tax, you have all kinds of taxes these people do not experience in a place like Nigeria. And rather than appreciate the little that you have coughed out of your hard-earned money to make their holiday pleasant, people turn on you, because in their minds, I'm only speculating, like I said, because often they don't even tell you why someone could come to your house and you look after them and you think you've done your very best. You not only have you given them accommodation, fed them free, paid for not almost every sightseeing they've been to, which you're not supposed to. Not everybody can do that in the UK, I can tell you that. And you give the money or bought them things for shopping, and they go back to Nigeria, suddenly they turn on you. And you're wondering, what did I do wrong? Of course, it's greed, that because in this day of social media, like I said to the person, you don't even need to live in the UK to appreciate how money is valued. People in Africa, often you have like a communal thing where it's almost informal. If things go south for you, you always have a brother or sister you can hang on to. In the UK and most parts of the Western world, it doesn't matter how rich or how poor you are, you have to count and know where every penny is going. You cannot knowingly, for the sake of someone praising you, the hard-earned money you're working hard to keep you and your family secure, you just, flash it on someone else just to please them. And then, God forbid, something goes awry. There's nobody to bail you out except you. If you're lucky to go and get your bank manager to give you a loan or whatnot, it doesn't even make sense. What I'm saying here is that you have to change your mental and cultural attitude. And if you have friends and family back home, let them understand, not that you owe it to them, but if they're giving you hassle, you have to pack that away and focus on your journey into settling into the UK, because the UK is not meant, I'm not saying don't help anyone, but the truth of the matter is people don't understand literally everything you do. There is nothing that is free. If you have a television, unless I'm wrong, Nigeria, for example, you don't have to pay anything. In England, you have to pay your yearly television license. If you don't and you're caught, that is several months in jail. You're running water. I mean, you've heard it. There's so much high cost of energy and water bills all over the country. You have a car, unlike most parts of Africa, any car you own here, you have to pay your car tax every year. You cannot drive that car without paying your taxes, and on top of it, you have to pay insurance. And so, if you don't do that, you can consider yourself how would I say it, a deliberate act of wanting the police to book you as into an offense, and nobody wants that. Whether you're seeking for your papers or you're not seeking, it is not done here. And what else? Literally, almost everything you touch, it's not like Nigeria. Somebody could just come and do something. Oh, thank you. Oh, come on. No, even if somebody is doing your gardening, your anything, people do not do things here free, because that's the way the system is done. And if you're doing it for somebody, they shouldn't expect it to be free, because we've all got our bills to pay. It doesn't matter how rich or how poor. If you're rich, you have rich bills to pay. If you're poor, you still have poor bills to pay. Does that make sense? So you have to change your mindset, and then make sure that you are, number 4, equip your mindset for the cold, the change in weather, the change in a lot of things. Okay? So, and the 5th one I'll say, and I bang on, is try your best not to fall into the trap of, you're in the UK, you come from Somalia, Nigeria, India, whatever. Of course, it's always good to be amongst one's community, but try your best to mingle and have some friends, or even make friends. They don't have to be friends that they have to sit with you in your house and eat and drink, whether it's in your workplace or you're going to the bus stop. Try and make yourself integrated, because by making yourself integrated, you begin to understand the people, the country you've come to live in, and you begin to learn a bit more, because it's bewildering to me. There are people who have been in the UK for, I see it, I hear it, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, but because they are so wrapped up in this African community or Asian community, whatever their community is, and they don't seem to even have or try to integrate, whether people at work or your church or your wherever your faith is. There are so many ways you can meet people, or even go online and learn a bit more about the culture where you live. And it baffles me when I see people who still have a mindset that you really have to question. Have they been to England, or have they actually allowed England to be through them? Because their mindset and the way they do things can really baffle you. So on that note, I just want to keep it short. If you're considering the UK, make sure and think, what kind of skills am I bringing? Because that will really help you. And of course, when you get into the UK, you always, I advise, brush yourself up with 1 or 2 courses that will bring you up to par with the kind of qualifications that we have here. Okay? 2, and most important, make sure you have the right kind of visa, so you do not come here and suffer in the shadow of the system. So you can also benefit as a UK resident, whether you're a citizen or national, or indeed just a permit. And 3, what did I mention? 3, of course, make sure your cultural, your social and economic mindset, that you're really ready to adapt yourself to the way we work, which includes the way, like I said, the 4th one, the way the weather can affect you and the rest of them. And of course, making sure you do not allow your mindset to be dragged by people back in your country who are so greedy and foolish and selfish. They're not thinking about you. That's what you need to know. You need to be able to settle down first. Find your feet, because you hear so many horrible things. As soon as somebody goes to UK, less than 6 months, people are expecting from your African country or Asian country, oh, please send me this, which is so sad, because you don't find Europeans behaving like that. And if only some of these people took a bit of notice of what they see on social media, they should actually be rooting for you and praying for you to succeed first and find your feet before they start begging you for money, or before they start expecting you to give them a mansion when you have just landed. I mean, I use mansion in terms of just as an, what would I say? Just as an irony, really. I'm just using it, quote and unquote. I just mean, when people come to visit from places like Africa, different countries, you hear all these horrible stories. I've had my fair share. And you don't understand what makes all these people think, just because you're in the UK, despite the fact, and I don't care what you say, you cannot never compare accommodation because somebody you knew from Nigeria or Ghana or Sierra Leone or whatever to someone in the UK, because they know and you know it's a lot of money if that person was not able to stay with you. Okay, you're saving them costs, you're feeding them, because this country is very expensive. Then on top of it, you still give, do little things and the people don't appreciate it because they clearly are either, I don't know what to say, except that I'm speculating, maybe they feel you're not doing enough. And you can rob the bank just to please someone else. They're not going to come back and pay your bills. And these people don't understand that in this country, unlike most Western countries, people work and pay bills like most Africans cannot understand. But on that note, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. My name is IJ, and I will hope that you please stop by again and join me on my next video. And of course, please hit the comment box and let me know where you're watching from. And if you have a topic in mind you would like me to talk about, please put it down in my comment box. I'd love to hear from you. And please subscribe to support my channel and share this video with your friends and family so they get to know about my channel as well. On this note, thank you again for joining me, and I will say good night from London. I'm in my kitchen. I'm going to check my food now. It's been a long day working, and I'm looking forward to having my dinner with my husband and my son. So thank you, and wherever you are in the world, au revoir, merci, bye-bye, and see you on the next video.